I'm going to prove Gwen right. Us is Richt Mitchell, or in modern English, for us it is greatly right. I'll finish that sentence in a minute. First, though, I want to consider this introductory phrase on its own, and I'm sure I will sound like the English professor I am in doing this. The four words together assert common community and common purpose, and they affirm both as the foundation on which all that follows stands. Communal identity comes first, us, which translates to for us, followed by the assumption that the audience shares agreement on what is Richt Mitchell, greatly right. The phrase, us is Richt Mitchell that, forms the first line on the first page of a book copied in about the year 975 in England, and it opens a poem written more than 1,000 years ago in an early version of English known as Old English. On the handwritten calfskin page, the assertion of communal emphasis is even more amplified by the enlarged and decorated U in that first word, us. The book in which this poem survives and its narrative poetry contents have been a major focus of my research for more than 30 years, and I'm not tired of the study yet. I still find more in that book to be surprised by, to be curious about, and to learn from. The persistent sense that this subject, and specifically this one book, still have so much more to teach me is, I think, a central element of my connection to the University of Minnesota-Morris. And the phrase, us is Richt Mitchell, underscores that connection and my role in the position of Chancellor. For us, it is greatly right that we strengthen and elevate our community and common purpose. And it is greatly right for us to be guided by deep enthusiasm for learning. Our purpose here is to pass that on. For us, it is greatly right to be part of this public liberal arts college within the University of Minnesota, and at the same time to recognize the distinctive history of this place and the people in it. It is greatly right for us, too, to figure out together new ways to build on the past for a strong future, and to elevate our commitment to sustainability in all the senses of that word, to create together and with a recommitment to shared purpose the new history of this distinctive institution. Carol Anderson, the Charles Howard Candler Professor of African American Studies at Emory University, recently defined history as, quote, our story, or rather, the complexity of our story and our stories. She emphasizes that history is not a single story, although we should all study history. For if we, quote, begin to treat things as if this was the first time or the only time, like it has no roots, we lose the ability to see the vibrancy of what could be, and we become more divisive. To scale that big definition down to this campus and this place, our history is multiple and complex, and the vibrancy of what we are and could be must acknowledge that. I have the privilege of a long history at this campus with an abundance of stories. Stories of so many students, such as that of our Morris Campus Student Association speaker today, as well as the color guards and the Eagle staff carrier. Students I've had the pleasure of teaching over more than 2 decades here, and am immensely glad to have known and still to know, including some of whom are now my colleagues, such as Carrie Adams and Josh Johnson, who humble me regularly with their accomplishments. Stories of colleagues, and I'm so grateful for the support I have found here, from co-teachers and from extraordinary problem-solving staff members, from my writing group colleagues and my division chair colleagues, and from my administrative colleagues locally and across the University of Minnesota system, as well as far beyond it. Communities of practice form an essential part of the work we do, and I deeply value the ways multiple communities and perspectives add to our stories. Co-teaching with Jim Toges has been one remarkable part of my Morris story, shaping me as I learned how fully he exemplifies the ideals of liberal arts education as a chemistry professor whose collection of books on the medieval poet Dante far exceeds what many medievalists own, and who has always beautifully yoked his own enthusiasm for learning to student learning. Working with Gwen Rudney in multiple roles has been another influential part. She listens and advises well, and her consistent centering of the student experience, along with her deep knowledge of how people learn, has been invaluable, as has her sense of humor. I am privileged to work closely now with a group of extraordinarily dedicated administrative colleagues on this campus who regularly demonstrate what it means to put community interests first. And my administrative story includes too all I learned from my immediate predecessor in the role of Chancellor, Michelle Baer, and my thoughtful and inspiring fellow chancellors across the system. Pei Ng and Arne Kildegard have been part of my administrative and faculty story in such important ways, as have my medievalist colleagues serving as faculty marshals today, Jimmy Scriver and Lisa Bevavino. In this place, too, Gabe DeRosier has helped immensely in re-envisioning our campus story and in my engagement with the multiple histories of this place. As Ogama Ikwe, I thank you and thank the Northern Wind Singers for being part of this and so many other events. Your voices and stories are of such importance here, in this place, and for our shared purpose. One more key part of my story here is a quietly extraordinary teacher and mentor on this campus, as well as an exceptionally patient editor and supporter, my husband, David. And thank you to my family here today, as well as a couple of key people who are instead in a grad school lab or at work in nursing and couldn't be here. The various communities of practice we are each part of and intersect with shape our stories, individually and collectively, creating the history and vibrant future of the University of Minnesota Morris. At UMN Morris, we know each other well enough that we really can excel at mentoring each other as well as students. And while that is sometimes hugely challenging work, it can be, as so many of us know, also immensely rewarding and a powerfully distinctive reason for this public liberal arts campus to thrive. I pursued the role of chancellor for this campus because I deeply believe in our mission and in the power of our people. And I think that my history in this place can be of service at this moment in our campus history, when we find ourselves a smaller institution than we have been in recent years. We are small, and we can make much of being so. Among the many books on my many bookshelves is the former UMN Morris Chancellor Sam Schumann's study of small colleges at the beginning of the 21st century. In it, he references a book that is both on his and my shelves by an architect, Sarah Susanka. Susanka gained national prominence when her book, The Not So Big House, became a bestseller about 25 years ago. Susanka argued that, quote, where smallness can feed the spirit, largeness for its own sake is enervating. Schumann cites Susanka's connections between her specific interest, residential architecture, and larger social contexts, as well as her belief that, quote, residential structures need to link mission with scale. She looks first at what a home is designed to do, for whom, then asks how large it should be. The answer, of course, writes Schumann, for both homes and for colleges is exactly big enough to do what it seeks to do in the very best possible way. Schumann goes on to sum up in ways that still resonate strongly and are, I believe, even more important now. Quote, large universities offer a range of learning and a depth of expertise that can be endlessly stimulating. Small colleges embody the values of human-scaled communities and the possibilities of an undergraduate education with integrity. In them, we teach, learn, and work with people we know and care about deeply. And the learning that goes on at such places can, at its best, permeate all areas of collegiate life. The classroom, the performance hall, the athletic field, the dormitory, the laboratories, the office, and the bench under one of the trees out on the grassy mall. While we continue to focus energy and attention on steadying our enrollment, we must also find new ways to make the most of being small. And we can draw on our history of extraordinary mentoring and use that to build our vibrant future, whether a student is studying rural energy economics or American Indian policies, or a field in which our reputation is a little less nationally recognized. More intentional embrace of mentoring and more recognition of and support for the work that goes into good mentoring are key parts of a UMN Morris experience. I look forward to making it more so, helping build and support the rich complexity of our story and our stories. The University of Minnesota Morris as a public liberal arts college is not duplicated anywhere in Minnesota or really anywhere that I know of. And what we offer, the ways we educate and who those students we educate are, matters now more than ever before. We read every day about inequities and divisiveness, and we at UMN Morris are a small but powerful force countering that. We provide to students from a broad array of contexts an education that includes experience with and discussion across multiple perspectives, and with locating and evaluating evidence, an education that, because of our scale, allows us really to see every single student and to offer every single student an opportunity to hold a leadership role of some kind and to be part of a team or working group or student organization, a distinctively well-mentored experience. This is a collective effort and a community strength, accomplished both together and individually, and a story to amplify. I need your help to do so, and I ask for a collective dedication to this as a priority, that we unite around this piece of our story. This is everyone's work and for the common good of this public liberal arts college. For us, it is greatly right to center that as we pursue the vibrancy of what could be. Thank you, all of you, for your part in the many histories and the fantastic future of the University of Minnesota Morris.